well, we got a Four Horsemen sighting.
The Four Horsemen of the Technocalypse.
Anytime you see the Four Horsemen, it's something special.
With Elon Musk.
You are already sort of a cybernetic symbiote. Neural nets are taking over from regular programming. So you are connected.
You are connected,
You are
Gonz.
connected. Uh-oh. Something started playing in the background that wasn't supposed to. Ukraine, wait up, Ukraine. Hold your tanks.
That's right. We usually start with
you.
Ukraine stuff, but you take a second, take a breather.
Yeah, because Elon Musk upstaged everybody yesterday. And remember when we found that line at the end of the article last week when he bought 9.2% of Twitter? He was asked to be on the board of Twitter. He declined because he found out that 14% is the max he can own. And right then we said, oh, he's trying to take over the whole thing. And
There's
sure enough, not even a week later, APnews.com, Elon Musk wants to buy Twitter, make it, quote, maximally trusted, which is the most untrustworthy thing anybody, especially billionaires and tech moguls, can say.
You know, there's something decidedly sort of Trumpian about that. The words he used.
Oh, 100%. It's as if Trump laid the red carpet for a guy like Elon Musk to just walk down and, really take over.
I know some liberal tweeters on Twitter who would agree with you.
Am I a Democrat now?
I think you got your blue check mark now, buddy. That's how you get the check mark.
In 10 days, Tesla CEO Elon Musk has gone from popular Twitter contributor and critic to the company's largest individual shareholder to a would-be owner of the social platform. A whirlwind, Basil, where the angels are. A whirlwind of activity that can change the service dramatically, given the sometimes whimsical billionaire's self-identification as a free speech absolutist. What are you yelling?
He's so whimsical.
Oh, of course. Yeah, he's whimsical. Yes, of course.
I love it.
But he's also self-identified free speech absolutist. So, which is true.
That's funny. I think he's a little bit more than self-identified. I think other people would identify him that way. But
Twitter revealed in a securities filing Thursday that Musk has offered to buy the company outright for more than $43 billion, saying the social media platform, quote, needs to be transformed as a private company in order to build trust with its users. Quote, I believe free speech is a societal imperative for a functioning democracy, Musk said in the filing. Quote, I now realize the company will neither thrive nor serve this societal imperative in its current form. Yes, we must connect Neuralink, Tesla, the boring company for deep underground military bases, and SpaceX and Starlink for all your internet connections. So we can all just create this one giant Elon hive world.
Quite the subtext there.
Hey, you know what? It's not, though. The man is in charge of all the things.
Yeah.
Later in the day, during an onstage interview at the TED 2022 conference, that's where people were protesting Bill Gates, right? I wonder how his talk went.
Did you watch it?
I did
actually
not.
watched it.
I haven't watched it.
It wasn't that interesting.
Yeah,
actually.
Sure. Yeah. He went even broader. Quote, having a public platform that is maximally trusted and broadly inclusive is extremely important to the future of civilization.
Hey.
He's very verbose with his
broadly
inclusive.
What was the word?
Broadly inclusive.
Yeah, see, he's turning the inclusive term back on whoever needs it to be turned back on.
More objective grounds, perhaps, at least for the people championing this. But also, it's funny because you read Revelation 13 will come up multiple times today, but Revelation 13 is the chapter in the book of Revelation that talks about the mark of the beast. And one of the characteristics of the issuing of the mark of the beast by the false prophet is, anyone rich, poor, free, slave, anywhere in the world, doesn't matter who you are, men, women, everybody gets to participate in the mark of the beast. Or, if you don't get it, you can't buy or sell. It's kind of, as we quote unquote globalize, I say that with air quotes, the conversation about including everybody becomes sort of top of mind for all these different billionaires and all these different, even like the World Health Organization and the UN and the EU and NATO. It's all about inclusion, except for Russia. And it's just interesting how that is sort of the goal here with all of this, given the prophecies there. A couple more things here. Since it burst onto the scene in 2006, Twitter was a flourishing social media platform. We all know about Twitter. Musk, who describes Twitter as a de facto town square, detailed some specific potential changes Thursday, like favoring temporary rather than permanent bans. Okay. But has mostly described his aim in broad and abstract terms. He said he wanted to open up the black box of artificial intelligence technology driving Twitter's feed so that people would have more transparency. Been talking about transparency for a long time here as part of this great reset thing about why some tweets might go viral and others might disappear. Quote, I wouldn't personally be in there editing tweets, he said. Quote, but you would know if something was done to promote, demote, or otherwise affect a tweet. And actually, I got to agree with you as a Twitter user. That'd be kind of nice, you know? Why
It'd be nice to know, wouldn't it?
Why does stuff that gets repeated by some random account get like hundreds of thousands of retweets and likes and views, but, you know, somebody that has a history, you know, just gets buried and barely gets any attention.
The fun thing about everything he suggested that he wants to do at the company, which he talked a lot about in that
the TED Talk, yeah.
Right. Which is, it's all, I mean, it sounds almost revolutionary, except for there is such a low bar that's been set by Twitter that the things he's saying are really not that exciting.
It's like bring it back to 2012-ish, maybe, 12 to 13.
I mean, they're good things to do, but it's like the bar is set so low that really any small incremental move, even just towards the center when it comes to, you know, the libertarian to authoritarian paradigm or what is it?
The dichotomy, the continuum.
The continuum. If you just move just an inch towards the center, you are just a hero of free speech.
Right. I actually think that this is very much a political move by Musk. And this could be a little grandiose of a theory, but I do think this is going to spark either a re-injection or like a technocratization. Is that a word? I don't know. Technocratization of probably both parties, but more so the Republican Party. I can see sort of retooled in the sort of new tech billionaire support thing. But it can also spin off into like an entirely new political party, especially if we're talking about, you know, world affairs and the New World Order. It could be part of that whole system being built up too, in terms of the divide and conquer.
You got to remember, Elon is a dyed-in-the-wool technocrat.
Right.
That is the foundation of his thing. And it just happens to be that technocrats can look libertarian at times. Yeah. They can also look authoritarian at other times. But the libertarian aspect is only comfortable for them because the tech does the governing, not people doing the governing. Yeah. So, you know, it is still he wants more, has all the negative parts about a technocracy, but it's sort of veiled by this idea that technology can be the objective arbiters of freedom.
Well, part of it, the transparency conversation is so fascinating to me because it speaks to this open source movement, you know, everything open source with technology. And he's right in that the reason why we are where we are with big tech is because lack of transparency, lack of any accountability, and no open source as far as a lot of the code goes, right? The algos. So, yeah, there's something to be said there, but it's also just telling the people to build it. You know, it's kind of like, okay, great.
So what's the news?
So Elon Musk trying to buy Twitter is the news, Basil.
Oh, okay.
he tried to buy one of the biggest social media companies by dropping $50 billion. And he said he can afford it. Let me wrap up this article, though. I'm not saying, this is Elon quote, I'm not saying I have all the answers here, but I do think that we want to be just very reluctant to delete things and just be very cautious with permanent bans. It won't be perfect. he said, but there should be a perception and reality. That speech is, quote, as free as reasonably possible. Just the perception. You don't need to actually be free and reasonable.
He said perception and reality, and what he's referring to is how perception and reality are two often totally disconnected things.
Yeah.
So, look, at least his rhetoric is to try to bring some cohesiveness between perception and reality, which is Twitter's what it's expert at. I mean, almost the purpose of its existence is to kind of disconnect perception and reality. And so, to claim he wants to bring those a little bit closer is a great claim. Again, pretty low bar. There's pretty low bar he has to pass.
Yeah. So there's some other things that I just want to quickly run through as part of the response here. There's a lot of people responding to this. And one of them is USA Today. USA Today had an article, is Elon Musk a Republican? Mm-hmm. And they said, no one really knows, but conservatives have claimed him as one of their own. So there you go. I mean, they get into Dinesh D'Souza.
The paradigm is strong. It's a useful tactic to discredit the guy, as either call him a Democrat, socialist, leftist, wacko, or call him a Republican, free speech terrorist or something.
And they actually quote Dinesh D'Souza. He's the conservative commentator, I guess, author. Pretty famous for Republicans. And he tweeted out back in January that Musk should buy a social media platform. So, maybe he was inspired by some of these conservatives that are so evil, these evil Republicans.
Right.
One of these politicians running for Senate, what is her name? Carla Sands, proud American in Pennsylvania, a woman of faith, mother, daughter, sister, friend, former ambassador to Denmark, candidate for U.S. Senate, tweeted out, Elon Musk is our last hope for free speech on the internet. Pretty dramatic. Last hope, Basil. Do you support him or not? Last hope. And then you had the actual, one of the Saudi princes or something that has some ownership to Twitter, basically rejecting Elon's offer, which I thought was funny in a tweet. He's like, not going to take it.
Who did this?
I think it was one of the Saudi, either a prince or a king or something.
Does he own part of Twitter or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting part of what he's been doing too. Is he's like, I could take it over. All it would take is a board vote, but I would rather have the other shareholders come on board, come with me. Partly because then he wouldn't have to buy their shares. Right. But, if they just agree with him, then it's as good as him owning it.
Right. And they have the whole poison pill thing is trending right now because it's a way to protect the shares from being, centralized or whatever. CNN talking about it, and there's a bunch of other headlines to go through that are just kind of fun. This one's New York Times. Late Night isn't thrilled about Elon Musk's attempted Twitter takeover. Oh no, Late Night is upset about it. We must do something. New York Post. Mark Cuban, Elon Musk is effing with the SEC. So there's another billionaire sort of supporting the idea of messing with the SEC and exposing it or whatever. And I just want to play this clip because I think it's tangentially important to all of this. And I say this as the political movement side of things. Elon Musk's buddy and pal who started PayPal with Peter Thiel. You know Peter Thiel, Basil?
Oh, yeah.
Was recently at the Bitcoin 2022 conference, and he said something interesting about Bitcoin in this 1 minute clip. Let me just play it real quick.
Bitcoin is not a company. It does not have a board. We do not know who Satoshi is. And in some ways, all these things seemed extreme in the world of the 2010s, where the inflation was low, the regulations were not the worst. Seems extremely prescient for the world of the 2020s. And if we had to summarize this in one frame, it is the finance gerontocracy that runs the country. Through whatever silly virtue signaling slash hate factory term like ESG they have, versus what I would call, what we have to think of as a revolutionary youth movement. And we have to just go out from this conference and take over the world. Thank you.
Take over the world.
Yeah.
The youth. And here's the thing. Let me just finish with this thought. When I was looking at a lot of my ethnic homeland of Japan, obviously I'm full-blooded American, born and raised American, but my parents and family come from Japan, and looking at how the West entered Japan, and the Last Samurai was about that whole process. Basically, what they did was they armed the youth with superior weapons to take over the emperor and the establishment in Japan. And I'm looking at this thinking, wow, this is Peter Thiel almost politically pushing for a youth movement of a similar kind, equipped with superior technology, that the gerontocracy, which is sort of like the old class.
Yeah, I love that term, the gerontocracy.
Yeah, but the
Holy smokes,
old people
brutal.
ruling. Yeah. And create this revolution. I think this is all manufactured, and I think Elon Musk is part of that process here of creating a revolution of the youth to basically take over. And this could also be part of the multiple layered wars and rumors of wars as we move towards the new world order as imagined by all these people.
Again, a pretty technocratic idea.
100% technocratic.
We have to equip young people with the better technology so that the better technology can take over the world.
And they always do. The better technology always wins out in some kind of political or geopolitical tensions throughout all of history. So, it is kind of what it is, and just keep an eye out for the techno man, Mr. Elon Musk, because he's got his hands in everything, every cookie jar.